Hi, Tom Anderson, day 71 of 100 Days of Thankfulness. This is part 11 of Pursuing Your Dream. Today we're talking about the importance of eliminating excuses, as well as why I'm so thankful for author Peter Kyne. So Benjamin Franklin has this wonderful quote, and I got it here. He that is good for making excuses is seldom good for anything else. So, you know, if you really need a list of excuses, I've actually got the list of the 11 most common excuses why people don't pursue their dreams, and I'll give them to you here. I'll actually provide you a link of, I'm not going to go into how to overcome these excuses because the link will explain that, but I'm just going to list off these 11, and maybe you can relate to some of them. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough education, too old or too young, I don't know how, I can't change, I'm afraid to fail, it's not the right time, I have to plan thoroughly first. That's one that I've been very guilty of. It won't work, and I'm not inspired. Now that last one, I'm not inspired, I talked about that before. If you're not inspired to pursue your dream, you probably have the wrong dream. You might need to go back to the drawing board and rethink, you know, what it is you really love to do. Now, when I talk about these, having these excuses, often we run into these situations where we have the best intentions, but then we run into an obstacle. And the obstacle could be just about anything. When you run into that obstacle, and you will, don't just use that as your excuse. Rather, you know, obviously it's a problem. You have to do something about it. It's getting in your way. You need to get around it somehow. So if you can't figure out a way to get around it, call your friends. Call someone that you know and trust. Call someone that you look up to, that you respect, and just ask them for advice and say, hey, I'm really trying to pursue this goal of mine, but I ran into this obstacle. Do you have any advice for me? Don't just step back and use that as your excuse of why you couldn't do what you wanted to do. People love to be asked, you know, for advice. People love to give advice. When you call someone, that's you showing them how much you respect them, and quite often they're, you know, that actually helps build relationships with people. So, you know, when I talk about eliminating excuses, the other side of it is, I would say there are what I would consider to be legitimate excuses, and my point of this, I can think of two in particular. The first one is, if you're doing something more important or more urgent than, you know, the thing that you had originally intended to do, it might be something unexpected came up. You know, for example, let's say you're working on something that's directly related to you pursuing your dream, and then you get a phone call, and it's a friend, you know, who's in the emergency room, and they really need you to help them out. You know, they need you to get the dog or whatever it is. Keep in mind that friends and family relationships, that's what's really important. Not to say that you shouldn't go, you know, as soon as that situation is taken care of, you shouldn't immediately go back to your pursuing your goals, but these types of things happen, and it's just so important to keep in mind a priority of needs, and that has to include other people's needs as well as your own. And then the other excuse that I would consider a legitimate excuse is I need to rest. Don't become this huge workaholic that is losing sleep now because you're pursuing all your dreams, where your health is now starting to deteriorate. Your health is important. Health is far more important than wealth. You need to get your rest when your body is telling you need to get to your rest. If you're totally exhausted at the end of the day, listen to your body. If the other thing I think is always a good idea is taking a day a week, 1 day a week to spend with your family. That 1 day of rest is so important. It's in the Bible. You know, read your Bible. It's really important. And then the other thing I would say is, if you need to rest because you're sick, yeah, again, listen to your body. Don't beat yourself up because you missed some deadline of a goal that you had set for yourself because you got sick. This is life. These sort of things are going to happen, and sometimes we just need to take a moment to rest and recover and then get right back into it. So I hope that helps. Now, author Peter Kyne, he wrote a book in 1921. I know that's a really old book, but it's a timeless book. It still applies so true today. When I read it, I only read it once, but it keeps coming back into my mind whenever I think about excuses. That is like the perfect book to read to eliminate excuses. Far better than this video. I would say, go get this book. It's called The Go-Getter by Peter Kyne. Read it. It's a short read. You could read it in a day really easily. So I'm not going to explain what the book is. It's perfect for eliminating excuses, and I highly recommend it. So thanks again to author Peter Kyne.